The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Robert Pattinson's Batman isn't joining the DCU. Matt Reeves insisted his Dark Knight remain completely separate, and James Gunn immediately agreed. But what makes this version of Batman such an impossible fit for the DCU? Let's find out. In making The Batman, Matt Reeves drew inspiration not from cosmic comic book sagas, but from the gritty neo-noir films of the 1970s, such as Chinatown, Taxi Driver, and the dark procedural thrillers of David Fincher. Everything in Reeves' Gotham feels diseased. It's always raining, always dark, always rotting from the inside out. The color palette looks like it was drained of life on purpose. Pattinson's Bruce Wayne isn't some confident billionaire playboy. He's barely functional, a weird hermit who's been punching criminals for 2 years and calling it justice. His narration, echoing Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Year One, feels like a tired detective keeping score of Gotham's decay. Reeves grounds everything in a harsh reality. The villains, Riddler, Penguin, Falcone, aren't cosmic monsters but frighteningly believable faces of organized crime and homegrown menace. At its core, the film plays like a detective mystery, solved with forensic clues and street fights, not clashes with aliens. That groundedness is everything. The moment you drop Superman into this universe, the whole thing collapses. How do you maintain that street-level intensity when there's a guy who can move planets flying around? You can't. The new Superman movie, on the other hand, is the exact opposite approach. It's earnest to its core, almost aggressively optimistic. It's bright, colorful, hopeful. Everything Reeves' Batman deliberately isn't. But here's what really kills any chance of integration. Gunn's DCU is already packed with superpowered weirdos. Superman introduces Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, the Engineer, and God knows who else right off the bat. This is a world where fighting giant alien starfish is just Tuesday for some people. Now imagine dropping Pattinson's paranoid, barely trusting Batman into that mix. Picture him trying to work alongside Guy Gardner or having a team meeting with Hawkgirl.
What kind of place is this?
The tones don't just clash. They're fundamentally different visions of what superhero stories should be. The power of Pattinson's Batman comes entirely from his limitations. He's one man against an ocean of corruption, armed with nothing but his trauma and really expensive gadgets. In the DCU, he wouldn't be the Dark Avenger of the Night. He'd be the goth kid at superhero summer camp, insisting everything is meaningless while everyone else is learning trust exercises. Now, I know what you're thinking, but didn't Gunn say there's no house style? He wants different genres, and you're absolutely right. We're getting cosmic space opera with Supergirl. We're getting gritty detective work with Lanterns, body horror with Clayface. The DCU is supposed to be a genre buffet. But here's where people get confused. Those are different flavors of the same meal. They're all happening in a world where everyone knows Superman exists, where magic is real, where aliens visit Earth for coffee. The variety comes from exploring how different characters experience this shared insanity. The Batman isn't another flavor. It's a completely different restaurant that only serves one thing, and that thing is despair, with a side of rain. The magic of Reeves's vision is that it never breaks its own rules. It never lets in even a crack of the fantastical. Trying to merge them isn't variety. It's like putting ketchup on ice cream. Technically possible, but nobody's going to enjoy the experience. And that's not even our biggest problem here. But if you think clashing tones are bad, just wait until we talk about the timeline. Robert Pattinson's Batman is basically a college sophomore who decided his major was punching criminals. He's in year 2 of figuring out this whole Batman thing. He's still making rookie mistakes, still learning what works, still driven by pure rage with just a tiny dash of, maybe I should try not being terrifying all the time. The entire point of what Matt Reeves is doing is showing us how this traumatized weirdo slowly becomes the master strategist and symbol of hope we know from the comics. It's Batman, the Wonder Years, but with significantly more face-punching. This is a guy who's just barely starting to trust Catwoman. His social circle consists of one very worried butler and a cop who's probably developing an ulcer. He's a loner by necessity and choice. This is Batman in his early years, and it only works if we're allowed to watch the evolution. But here's the catch. James Gunn's DCU isn't looking for evolution, it's looking for a rival. James Gunn has been crystal clear about this. The Batman in his universe isn't some rookie figuring out the ropes. This is an experienced, established hero who's been doing this dance for years. But more importantly than any of that, he's got a 10-year-old son who was raised by ninja assassins. The first Batman movie in the DCU is called The Brave and the Bold, and it's not an origin story. It's not even a Batman learns to work with others story. It's a Batman tries to be a dad to a kid who knows 47 ways to take down someone with a paperclip story. Do you see the mathematical impossibility here? It just doesn't add up. For this story to make sense, Batman has to have already lived through an entire superhero career. He had to master martial arts, become the world's greatest detective, have his epic romance with Talia al Ghul, be completely unaware he had a kid for a decade, and then suddenly have that kid dropped into his life with a note that says, "Surprise, he's been trained by the League of Assassins. Good luck." This isn't year 2 Batman. This is year 15 Batman, minimum. You can't just time skip Pattinson's character through all of that. It's like skipping all of the MCU movies since Phase 1, only to arrive at I Am Iron Man in Endgame. You missed the point. The journey is the story. But wait, how about the multiverse? Some could argue, well, just pull a Peacemaker and open a portal to another reality. But that's exactly the problem. A multiverse trick doesn't solve anything. It breaks the character. Sure, you could theoretically portal him in from another dimension. And then what? He meets a more experienced version of himself who's got his life together and a kid? He meets Superman, who could solve every single one of Gotham's problems before lunch, making Batman's entire struggle seem kind of pointless. It doesn't elevate Pattinson's Batman, it diminishes him. In his world, he's the apex predator, the strangest thing in a world of normal, if terrible, people. Bring him into the DCU, and suddenly he's just another guy in a costume standing next to people who can fly. The two stories aren't just different, they're actively incompatible. One is a beginning, one is a middle chapter. You literally cannot exist in both places on a timeline simultaneously. And that's not an accident, it's the entire strategy. So why would DC Studios deliberately create this situation? Why split their most popular character? From the outside, it looks like they're shooting themselves in the foot, like they're dividing their audience for no reason. But here's the twist. It was by design. James Gunn himself confirmed that Matt Reeves chose to keep his Batman out of the DCU, and Gunn respected that decision. In other words, this split wasn't a problem to solve, it was the plan all along. And honestly, it's one of the smartest business moves in entertainment history, born from watching a decade of absolute corporate chaos. Remember the old DCEU? It was like watching a group project where everyone had different ideas about what they were supposed to be making. Zack Snyder wanted to make a dark, mythological epic. Joss Whedon wanted to make Marvel but with DC characters. Patty Jenkins wanted to make a World War I period piece. James Wan wanted to make Aquaman ride a kaiju. None of it fit together. Every movie felt like it was fighting against the movies that came before it. Fans were exhausted. Critics were brutal. The whole thing was held together with hope and really expensive reshoots. When Gunn and Safran took over, they inherited exactly two things that were actually working. Todd Phillips' Joker, which made over $1 billion and won an Oscar, and Matt Reeves' The Batman, which made $770 million and got universal critical acclaim. Notice what these movies had in common? They were completely separate from the shared universe madness. They were allowed to be their own thing. The directors had total creative control. So the new bosses had a choice. They could try to force these successful square pegs into their round DCU hole, repeating all the same mistakes, or they could try something radical. They gave it a name, borrowed straight from the comics, Elseworlds. It's basically a label that says, this story is special. It doesn't need to connect to anything else. Just enjoy the ride. This is having your cake and eating it too, Corporate Strategy Edition. Matt Reeves gets to make the darkest, weirdest, most psychologically complex Batman trilogy he wants without ever having to worry about how it affects the plot of Booster Gold or whether it sets up Justice League. Meanwhile, the main DCU gets to build their massive, interconnected saga with a Batman who's designed from the ground up to work on a team. A Batman who can believably stand toe-to-toe with Darkseid. It's not splitting the audience, it's doubling the potential audience. Art house fans get their prestige superhero content with Elseworlds. Blockbuster fans get their massive team-up spectacles with the DCU. And people like me get both, which is honestly the best timeline. It's a clean break. A conscious uncoupling, if you will. Both sides walk away richer and happier. They're finally running a stable, successful operation, and the foundation of that success is keeping Gotham and Metropolis in completely different zip codes. This separation isn't a compromise or a consolation prize. It's a victory. A victory for creative freedom, for a studio that actually learned from its mistakes, and most importantly, for us. We get to watch Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson finish their grounded, intimate, deeply intense character study. We get to see how a broken man slowly becomes a symbol of hope. And we get to meet a completely different Batman, a master strategist, a father figure, a hero who can stand alongside gods and defend the entire planet from cosmic threats. The question isn't whether they should be together anymore. The only question left is which story has you more excited? The lonely detective solving the riddle of his own damaged soul? Or the veteran hero teaching his assassin's son how to be better than he was? Drop a comment and tell me, if you had to pick only one Batman to follow, are you riding with Pattinson's tortured detective or Gunn's battle-hardened dad? And if you enjoyed this video, that subscribe button is your personal bat signal to us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.